When you think of Canada's War of 1812, you likely think of men like General Isaac Brock and the hero of Upper Canada, Tecumseh. But what about the women? What was their role in securing Canada for Britain during the war? In fact, one woman would become so pivotal to the British war effort that American soldiers put a price on her head. This is the untold story of Laura Secord, the woman whose bravery helped win the War of 1812. On April 1813, an American force of 400 men set out from Fort Niagara in New York State with orders to capture the British Fort Erie on the Canadian side of the Niagara River. The Americans reached the mission with relative ease, but they were soon repelled by the 49 British regulars stationed there. Outnumbered, the Americans retreated to Buffalo, regrouped and returned with 800 men, only to be once again turned back by the garrison at Fort Erie. But this time, casualties would prove much higher than the first engagement. As American reinforcements approached, British Major General George Pejabat sent a detachment under Captain Charles Robert to scout the American camp. What Joseph did not know was that he was walking into an ambush. He and his 6 companions were soon set upon by 200 American soldiers, led by Colonel James G. Simons. Every single member of Robert's scouting party was killed, scalped, and mutilated, except for one man. Private William Warren managed to escape and make his way back to Fort Erie, and what he told the officers there changed everything. According to Warren, the American commander, Colonel James Simmons, had ordered the execution of all British officers captured in the skirmish, along with anyone who gave them aid or comfort. As soon as the fort fell, Simmons would have every British soldier there hanged. Not only that, but he had taken something from each of the slain soldiers, something that could prove useful in turning the entire Niagara region against the British. And what he took was not ammunition, supplies, or weapons, but something far more valuable. Each officer carried letters with them that detailed sensitive information about British defenses, troop deployments, even personal correspondence between officers and their families back in Britain. If these letters got into the wrong hands, they could be used to turn the entire region against the British. With Fort Erie being so close to the frontier settlements of Upper Canada, it was imperative that the British keep the region's population on their side. It was assumed that if the Americans captured the fort, they would simply overrun the countryside, forcing the locals to choose between submission or relocation. Even worse, the Americans would use any captured letters to further inflame tensions in the region, turning as many people as possible against the British. If the Americans were successful in this, it would devastate the British war effort. So when Laura Secord heard that American soldiers were approaching her home with orders to kill her husband, deliver her children into American service, and plunder their home, she knew she had to do something. She would be a spy. Disguised as a Native American woman, Cord made her way to the American camp and slipped inside. At great risk, she stole the letters from the dead soldiers, then returned home and personally delivered them to General Depute. Upon reading the correspondence, Depute immediately dispatched 2 officers to capture Simmons. Meanwhile, he had the contents of the letters read aloud to the assembled troops, turning the population against Simmons and his men. When the Americans attacked the fort a 3rd time, they were met by an angry mob of Canadian civilians. Seeing the handwriting on the wall, Simmons and his men retreated across the river, never to return, although her actions were known to only a few. Laura Secord had secured Fort Erie in the Niagara region for the British, depriving the Americans of valuable intelligence and turning the local population against the invaders. To this day, she is remembered as a heroine of the War of 1812, though her contributions may have been greater than anyone else. After all, it is said that the only thing more deadly to an army than its enemies are the spies that lurk in the shadows, turning friend to foe. Thank you for watching.